Hey everyone, and welcome to the Garage Gym Experiment Podcast. I'm Adam, and I'm joined by, of course, Jake, and tonight we're flying solo. On tonight's episode, we have a few survey questions to discuss. First is if the Clear Coat upgrade from Rep Fitness is worth the extra cost that comes with it. Then we're going to talk about what is owned by home gym owners, and then some hot or not results, where we ask about 37 different types of plates. In addition, the product highlight will be the PR1100 from Rep Fitness versus the Titan T2. So these are two very popular budget racks that we're going to talk about and compare. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Jake to get us started. Jake.
Thank you, Adam. All right. Is the upgrade to Clear Coat worth it? So in a couple of different pictures examples, we compared the Clear Coat AB5200, which is an adjustable bench, in Clear Coat versus metallic black, and then the same for some PR5000 rack posts. So, Adam, actually, I'm curious to hear what you think the responses were. So, how many do you think voted for the Clear Coat upgrade for benches and racks?
Yeah, as a participant in this survey, I was shocked. I thought more people would be like me and said that the upgrade would be worth it, but I believe that when I took the survey, there was like a 60-30 split. I know I'm missing some numbers there. 65-35 split with people saying that it's not worth it. Is that right?
Okay. Yeah, so the gap might have widened. You might have answered right away. Only 18% said that it was worth the additional $120 for the rack posts, while 22% said they wouldn't pay the additional $80 on the bench. I mean, we discussed this in the past. It seems like most people just are realizing that those are products that they're probably saving up for, and they would have to basically eat into something else that they would have to buy in order to upgrade. So after like seeing people's responses and knowing that they're likely building their gyms out one step at a time, it does make sense. The Clear Coat racks and bench finish is so nice, and it's definitely gonna hold up better over time in terms of scratches and such. And yeah, I mean, to me, when you see it, it's worth it. The pictures don't really do it justice. It's one of the nicest things I've ever seen in a gym.
I was going to ask you, what's the texture on those? Like, does it have like a like an epoxy like feel to it, or is it like a very metallic, like a metally feel to it?
It has more of a metally feel to
it. Interesting. Yeah, the pictures look amazing. I would definitely spend the extra. And I'm saying I'm cheap when it comes to buying stuff typically, but I would definitely spend the extra $80 for the bench. Now for uprights, I think they look amazing. But yeah, that is pretty expensive. Wouldn't you say it was like $150 extra?
120.
120. Yeah. Guess it depends where you're at in your build. If you're upgrading and you want to get something that's your final stop, you're going to keep forever, and you really want it to look nice, then yeah, Clear Coat looks amazing.
Yeah. Buy once, cry once. All right, yeah. I mean, I was originally shocked, but again, once you kind of think about it, it makes sense. So let's move on to the next survey question, which is, what do you own? A typical Sunday survey that we do every 6 months, and it basically asks about 29 different products, whether you own it or not. So, and we have some comparison data as well. In general, it's more people are, as you'd expect, owning more equipment. That's typically what we're seeing. But let me just run over some of the highlights. Can't go over everything. It would take forever. But let me run over some of the highlights or things that kind of stand out. 29 different products were asked about. The top 7 in the specific order in terms of what people own. Number 1, a barbell. 2, resistance bands, squat/power rack, dumbbells, jump rope, bumper plates, and then adjustable bench coming in at number 7. So if you have everything on that list, you already have a solid home gym. The bottom 5, do you have a guess as to what the bottom was, if you remember all of the ones that were asked?
Yeah, I have a couple ideas. Obviously, I don't remember all of the equipment, but I'm going to guess it's going to be those really big footprint pieces that come with a big price tag as well. Something like a belt squat, or even oh man, I was thinking of another one.
That's all right.
Belt
I'll
squats.
just
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just say them. And you're right. So the bottom 5 are all large specialty machines. And the last place one was the leg press machine, with about 6.5% saying they own. And then going from last to fifth to last, reverse hyper was second to last, functional trainer, GHD, and then belt squat. We've seen a decent rise. They're up to 24%. I do think that a lot of people are considering other belt squat options rather than just a belt squat machine. And then overall, more people own a larger proportion, like I mentioned earlier. Only 7 items were down from the last time we did this survey. Those that had the largest percent increases included specialty barbells, which we've discussed in the past. We know people are buying more specialty barbells. So that was the number 1 item. Landmines, stationary bike, squat and power rack, and then bumper plates. So those were all the biggest improvers. A few other just like notes. More people own bumper plates versus iron. So that's 76 versus 65% owning iron. 86% own traditional dumbbells compared to 47% owning adjustable dumbbells. 72% own an adjustable bench compared to 56% owning a flat bench. When looking at the most popular large cardio machines, the most owned, I should say, is the stationary bike with about 37%. And then the rower, air bike, and treadmill were pretty much in that same area, all below 37% and above 30%. It's interesting to just compare those amounts to the 79% that own jump ropes. And then
Yeah,
the
interesting.
last... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, you have to take into account, it's, do you own it? And as you go through, it's a yes or no. So some of those people who own, say, like a adjustable bench, they could possibly have a flat bench too. And so they would make up for both percentages there. So you really see what people are missing. And I got to say that stationary bike being, you said that's the highest piece of cardio?
Yeah, 37%.
That surprises me.
Yeah, I feel like with the stationary bike, just about anybody can use it. You know, it's probably more likely that you'll find an old stationary bike on the marketplace, for example, than a rower, at least at a good price. So yeah, that is interesting. And then the last little note I have here are belt squats were the biggest jump from last March, so March of 2021 to this most recent survey. So they went from 16% owning to 24%. The other ones that we saw a jump similar to this were specialty bars, like we mentioned earlier, and then also functional trainer. So I think the functional trainer went from something like 9 to 13%, whereas like the belt squat went from 16 to 24%. So only a few different percentage points. And it makes sense if you're like staying on top of social media, you know that functional trainers, specialty barbells, and belt squats are all kind of items that people really want to have.
Yeah, and they're for the established gym as well. Like, they cost a lot of money, and it's not the first thing you're going to get. So as you build out your gym, the next piece is going to be one of those big ones. I'm really excited. You're getting in the Bells of Steel belt squat, isn't that right?
Right.
I'm excited to get your take on that, because that's kind of got like the lever arm style. I'm gonna have to definitely drive down and jump on that one. I'm excited to see what that feels like.
I have used it before.
Have you?
And it's a nice option, especially when you're considering the overall price. I mean, it's still not cheap.
Oh, sure.
But, yeah. And then just as I'm scrolling through the entire list, which you can find in the notes, 53% own a med ball. That's like number 12. 66% own horse stall mats. That's number 9 on the list. Ab mats are owned by 36%. That's 19%. And then steel storage racks, 30% own them. 24th on the list. Just a few random ones. Again, go take a look at the list if you have the chance. Let's move on to the hot or not results. As Adam mentioned earlier, we asked about 37 different plates, and you simply needed to select hot or not. You saw the picture. We did this over a 3-week stretch, so it wasn't back to back to back 37. So you have a little bit variation in voting, but still overall it's more about having fun with it. All right, in first place were the Rogue competition plates at 90%. So they were closely followed by Leica weightlifting competition plates. Those were at 89%. In third place, Rogue calibrated plates. Fourth, Rogue machined Olympic plates. And then 5 rep competition plates. So in general, the more like simple ones did better, if that makes sense. So like you're seeing a list of the Rogue competition, calibrated, machined, and then in 6th and 7th place, for example, were the rep old school iron, and then just the rep basic bumper plates. So you don't really see any unique plates on this list until 15th place, which were the Rogue Fleck plates. So you have a lot of very not necessarily basic, but like the simple competition or the simple iron.
Yeah, and people are smart too because those competition plates are so expensive. You're talking about the urethane ones with like the thick metal discs in the middle, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, those are amazing. I'm surprised that when you're talking competition bumpers, I guess like it kind of surprises me that Rogue would get voted hotter than like, the Eleikos, but
barely.
I guess Rogue's a bigger name like here in the States, and Eleikos are really for like the Olympic weightlifters. It feels that way at least.
And just to compare, so those competition plates are 89, 90%. The USACA Camo D Warrior bumpers, which are beautiful plates, were at 55%, number 23 on the list. So it kind of shows you not really sure what this survey is really telling you, but I mean, it's pretty crazy that there's such a big difference.
Yeah, and just as a participant, it's fun to just like, play fantasy for a little bit. I think I'll take those. No thanks. Like, as if a lot of us would really be that picky, But
right,
it is fun just to like see the plates and say what you really like and what you don't.
Yeah, we get just as big of a reaction as the Sunday surveys for these hot or not surveys. So we'll just keep them rolling as well. Back to the 15th place Fleck plates. So they were about 64%. They did beat out the Savage plates from Fringe, Alpha bumper plates, and PRX Fleck plates, which were all kind of similar, but that kind of shows you the dominance of the Rogue brand. Like you mentioned earlier, you saw a lot of Rogue at the top of the list. Let's see here. In last place were concrete plates. So only 18% voted hot on that. I think even the I sometimes chat with the Sticks and Stone guy. I don't think he'd be too surprised by that either. And then lastly, some other just notable matchups include pizza plates from Fringe beating out the Fringe donut plates, 39% to 35%. The American barbell urethane plates win against the new Kabuki signature bumper plates. Which are like Kabuki partnering with American barbell and recreating a unique bumper plate with their brand on it. And I honestly think those are the coolest plates on this list.
The signature ones?
Yes.
Yeah, they're sick.
I mean, they're not budget friendly. They're not going to make any like...
No, it's kabuki. No.
Yeah, they're not going to make any budget home gym guide lists, but they are amazing.
Would you say, off-topic question for you, would you say that Kabuki has the best logo when you're talking home gym equipment suppliers? The Tiki Man.
Off the top of my head, yes.
Yeah, it's sick. I love it.
I'm a huge fan of Kabuki.
Yeah.
That was just, I thought that was interesting because, you know, they're pretty much the same plates, but one has quite a bit more animation on it. I'm not sure if I said the numbers, but it was 72% compared to 58. Next up, we have Rogue deep dish plates winning against the Strength Go plates at 75% versus 69%. We also threw in the Elite FTS deep dish plates, and those were quite a bit down at 54%. And then the last notable one here I have is Rogue 6 shooters beat out Ivanko revolvers, 65 to 56. I think that's it. I think there's some other just like, if you scroll down the list, you can see some other similar plates, one brand being higher than another brand, just so you can see how much brand does play into it. But overall, just one of those things that are fun to do. If we missed any, let us know, and we will keep this as like a 2022 plates list and see if anything can top it. All right, that's it for the Hot or Not surveys. Let's move on to our final section of this chat, which is just a product highlight of the Titan T2 and the PR 1100 from Rep. So both very similar racks, and Adam has quite a bit of experience with both, as do I. So Adam, can you just tell us who these racks are for?
Yeah, sure. So this 2x2 style is going to be like your budget beginner rack, but I wouldn't just like pigeonhole it there. Weight capacity with these racks, they're rated for up to 700 pounds. And so like for a lot of us, we're not going to be touching that kind of weight with our lifts. I know I'm not. If you are, you're going to need to look at like a 2x3 or, of course, like the 3x3 style racks if you're really going to be putting a ton of weight into it. But for just your general lifter, even those of us who are still trying to gain like a lot of strength, these racks are perfect. That's really who they're for. We're talking similar price points, below $400, I believe, to this day, both of them. I think Rep's like $387 and Titan maybe like $415 or something. It's around $400 a piece. And they also come with plenty of upgrades. So getting into like a 4-post rack, lots of accessories. So perfect for the home gym owner to build off of and to get a lot of versatility out of.
Okay, so I mean, when you look at it, them on the website, they pretty much seem like the same item or very similar, and it's kind of tough to decipher which one is right for me. What are even the differences? So they look a little bit different. So Adam, like when you're looking at the racks, who wins in the sturdiness category?
Yeah, so it's important that when we did this comparison and in the review as well, that we're comparing the Rep 1100 and not the Rep 1000, because as far as like designs, the Rep 1000 and the Titan T2 are, I mean, they're so similar. You might sit them side by side. They might have the same design. Okay, but we're looking at the Rep 1100, which I kind of see in home gyms more than I see the Rep 1000. It might be because the multi-grip angled pull-up bar, it just looks a little better maybe. But in sturdiness, the Titan T2 actually has about 1.5 inches and then 2 inches set out wide. It just takes up more floor space, and because it has like a more spread out foot pattern there, it actually is a sturdier rack. And then it's also important to remember that, you know, when we compared these two racks, talking about sturdiness, stripped down, so just the rack, not the 6-post attachment and the lat low row attached to it. But the Titan T2 actually ended up being a sturdier rack. It also has thicker steel, which side by side, touching both racks, maybe you could see a difference between the 14 and the 12 gauge. The steel thickness is so similar, but it's because of that foot pattern's a little bit more spread out on the T2. So yes, the T2 was a sturdier rack.
Yeah, it definitely looks like the same steel thickness. I'm wondering if it's just a discrepancy in what they say their product is. So with accessories, it looks like Titan offers quite a bit more accessories. Would you disagree?
No, Titan offers way more accessories, and then things like their dip bars. They offer two different styles. So they have like the horn dip style, and then they also have the slot insert, and you can see it in the photos on the review. Dip handles coming off both uprights, where like you look at like the Reps dip bars, you have to bring both safeties, chrome plated safeties, to the same side and kind of rest them on each other. So really they win there too. But yeah, the T2 has way more accessories and some better ones too. So I'm just looking here. They have 15 different accessories that you can add to your rack. The Rep 1000 series, they give you 6 different accessories. So
Can
T2
you
has...
Can you use the Titan ones on the Rep rack?
Yeah, so bringing in the Titan accessories to kind of test a few out, I ended up keeping the Rep 1100, but I kept all the Titan accessories. You can use them on it. If you're using Titan T2 accessories on a Rep 1100, you're not going to be able to use your screw-in safeties, but you can use them on the Rep 1000. The difference is the hole spacing. The 1100 uses 3-inch hole spacing, while the 1000, I believe, uses 2-inch hole spacing. So you can still use them, though. You just won't be able to use those safeties.
I know this is an important feature for everyone, but would you say the Rep rack looks better than the Titan rack?
Yeah, it goes beyond design, too, because, like I said, the Rep 1000 and the T2 are mere knockoffs of each other. I mean, they're very similar. You can't tell them apart. But with Rep, you're going to have the laser Rep plate, if that's important to you. I think it looks great. But then the Rep 1100, the reason that I went with it is I think it's a little better on the eyes with the arched pull-up bar and the laser-etched logo. I think the Rep looks better.
You said you ended up staying with the Rep. What were the key reasons you saved the Rep? And I'm guessing you sold the Titan on the marketplace?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the reason I stayed with Rep is it's what I started my home gym with, and I guess I had a connection with it. If that sounds any different, it might have been different. Yeah, I'm really curious to see, or I was curious to see. I didn't get a chance to get my hands on the T2 lat low row combination, and it looked like they used that dual rod system like you're going to see in like the Rep 4000 5000 low row attachment. You can see behind me the Rep 1000 series. If you get the lat low row, it uses the 2x2 chrome plate that the weight slides on. I found that has a little bit more friction. It doesn't move as smoothly. So I was really curious to see what the T2 attachment had. It never came in stock while I had that rack, and I had that rack for like 4 or 5 months, and it never came back in stock. So maybe that would have made me change my mind. But, you know, I had already built out the Rep with all the attachments, all the add-ons. And so that's just kind of like my rack. And so I just kept it. Yep.
Got it. And then,
but the T2 was a great rack. There's nothing wrong with it.
You mentioned like these are racks that'll get the job done for just about anybody in the entire world. How long? Yeah, I mean you've had the Rep rack for a couple of years, I think, and then the Titan you had for a while. How long do you think they'll last if maintained, like your traditional home gym owner would take care of it?
I see no need to really ever. Like, we're talking about steel breaking down. I mean, it's going to last forever. And that's pretty awesome from, like, you know, a sub $400 rack. Now, once you get an established home gym, I have the urge to upgrade to, like, a 3x3 style. But it's really hard to pull that trigger because this rack does everything I need it to. And so I'm sure the day will come where I part ways with it, you know. But there's no need to. I guess at that point it's just a flex to to get a 3x3 style rack. I don't know.
Right. And then you've also tested out the Force USA MyRack. Would you say, I mean, the MyRack I think is like one baby step above those, just because it has more options to upgrade. How would you say, I mean, I might have just answered for you, but is there anything else you would add to the difference between something like the MyRack and the T2 or PR1100? I know like even like Frey offers something. There's like this model is out there, you know.
Yeah, as long as it sticks to the 2x2 with the 1-inch holes, you'll be able to like, you know, substitute like I did with like Titan attachments. I think that's really cool that I can throw them on my rep rack. The issue you're going to come into with like Force, which they understand that is an issue. If you go with their rack, it's not exactly 2x2. I believe it's like 2.2 or 2.3.
Yeah.
Your attachments aren't going to fix. So if you want all your attachments, you're going to have to go through Force. So, and then I know that it's a little bit more expensive going through Force as well.
Got it. Anything else we should cover on those?
Yeah, you know, this has been a talking point for garage gym content people like ourselves, that everyone wants to, you know, throw their hate at Titan, which if you've gotten some of their products that you've been unhappy with, like they're out there, they exist, and I understand, but they are making good products. And like with a 2x2 rack style, like the Titan T2, it was a great rack. I think in some of like reviews and stuff that I've done in the past, like in writing and sharing the T2, you know, everyone's like, "Oh, Titan rack, huh? That's a piece of junk." Like, no, man, it's it's a steel rack, and it's it doesn't deserve the hate it gets all the time. Now, I've gotten a few pieces in where, you know, I don't love them, but it's hard to really knock some of the Titan things you get in when you pay a fraction of the price compared to other companies for them. You get what you pay for. But in that case, like the T2, if you're looking for a great starter rack, it's awesome. There's no reason you should like hesitate to buy it if you're thinking about it. And then Rep's got an awesome line of racks as well. So, yeah. I guess the final thought, which I might have already said, is that most of us can get by with a 2x2 style rack. I just want to say that because you don't need to spend $1,200 on your very first power rack.
I've also said this before, but if you want to eventually get a 3x3 rack, but end up settling for a 2x2 rack, let's just say there should be very little issues in buying a $400 rack and then in a year or two selling it for like $300. So especially with prices going up, as long as you take care of it, it should be a pretty good investment regardless. So I wouldn't be afraid to do that rather than waiting for a year to save up or
right,
whatever the reasons may be. So
maybe you get it in and you say you're gonna upgrade, but you use it and you realize, like, I don't need to spend 3 times the price on a 3x3 style. But again, one day I will, and it'll be a tough part because this rack has done everything I've asked it to do and more.
And then I just wanted to also say, you mentioned like hate for Titan, the reputation of buying a product from Titan and expecting some sort of crap. It does seem like that is something that is not really the case anymore. And I would just say, like, that's probably a reputation that they earned 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, whereas the last few years has been pretty solid. I personally didn't buy anything from Titan, or at least not a lot, until the last few years, and I've probably purchased 15 or so products from Titan, if not more, in the last few years. There hasn't been one that I've been like that. It was always in shape I expected it to be, I would say, like, considering what I paid for it. So with Titan, you get what you pay for, and like overall, it's been pretty solid for the price. So
and to piggyback off that with the current situation I'm looking at, like I got this this low back extension, the 45-degree low back extension, the V2, so like the nicer one, but it was still under $200, and I have my issues with it. Like the tube steel's very thin, the welds are pretty poor, but I love that movement. I can do that movement. And I paid under $200. And when I look at other companies out there, 6 times that price to get something like this. I mean, you're talking $1,200 for a 45-degree low back extension. They look amazing. I would love to have one day, but where I'm at with my budget in my home gym, like, this is what I could afford for now. And it does everything I asked it to do. And for me to complain about, like, the welds on something that I spent $200 on is just, there's no reason for it. Now, I can't sit there and say that, like, this is the best low back extension that you've ever had, but if you buy it for $200, like, you're going to be happy.
Yeah, I think that concludes it.
Cool. Let's wrap this thing up. All right, that wraps it up. We want to thank everyone for listening. Be sure to give us a follow at Garage Gym Experiment on Instagram, where you can participate in the Sunday surveys, the hot and not, all the rest. Follow us on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Don't forget to check out the website for home gym tips. That's garagegymexperiment.com. With that, I think we covered everything. Jake, do you have anything else for the people?
I do not.
All right, that's it then. We're done. Bye.